Welcome everyone. Good morning from Delhi and happy Diwali. This is the second conversation in the series Research for Everyone, in which we're trying to bring uh, PhD research in a simple language. So today we have Rituparna, who teaches sociology in the Indraprastha College for Women in University of Delhi, and she has some very interesting things to say about her research. So let's get to know from her. Hi Ritu. Can you tell us about your research?
Hi Shweta, hello everyone. Happy Diwali. First of all, I'm Rituparna, like Shweta said, and I have just submitted my PhD thesis in October from Jawaharlal Nehru University. It still feels surreal to say that you have submitted your research thesis because it is an ongoing process that becomes a part of your life. So my PhD was on mobile theatre of Assam, and I tried to look at the role that mobile theatre plays in culturally shaping the kind of public consciousness and awareness that exists in the state. Briefly to speak, mobile theatre is a very popular form of art form in Assam. There are almost 60 theatre groups performing all over the state. This time it is different because of COVID-19, as all of you are aware of. But otherwise, right now, because it is festival time, you would have seen that theatre groups are traveling all around the state, performing some of their best plays. And it is a very festive season, and theatre sort of, adds the spice to it. So that is what my research is about in terms of looking at theatre and the kind of role that it has played in culturally shaping the state.
Right. Okay. So tell us, what did you do to find the information that you were looking for?
Okay, so most of the times we also might have an impression that research is only about numbers and data, but sometimes we also need to know that research is also about gathering information that is spoken by, or told to you by experts in the field or people who are involved in them. So to get the information that I required, I met many of the producers, the actors, the people who are associated with mobile theatre, as well as audience members, because it is important to keep in mind that any kind of art form, be it films or theatre, only survives with the support of its audience. So for me, it was important to speak to people not only acting, producing, and directing, but also watching. So, because it is a PhD research which was highly qualitative, which means that I did not rely as much on data but on working with people. I sort of kept the number between 30 to 50, the number of people that I spoke to, and I traveled to different parts of Assam like Patshala, then Tejpur, where and Guwahati, where I went and met these people, many of them, some of them when they were at work, some of them when they were not at work, according to their own convenience. So in that way, research sort of also teaches you to honor other people's time and commitment, because you may not decide everything according to your own convenience. You have to keep the other person's convenience also, in mind. So that is how I gathered my information.
And how much time did it take for you to do all this? Because you traveled a lot, you met people, you took time, to spend with every place, every person. How much time did it take for you overall?
So, technically, a PhD is for 4 years, and you also get an extension. But I wanted to finish it within that 3 to 4 year time frame. And what I would do is I would do something that is which is called gathering information or field work, that you are in the field working. I had divided it into batches. So technically, it took me 3 years to gather all the information and write. But what I would do is I would travel for a month or so, then come back to either my home or Delhi, write down whatever points I had gotten and then again go back, because that would also give me new insights. Because when you are writing and you show your chapters to your supervisor, she also gives certain comments and suggestions, and then you go back. So that is also a good way to do our own work at the project level as well, because hearing from others, their comments, suggestions helps us in improving, as well as when you think about it, write it down and then go back. So although technically it took me around 3 years to compile everything, but I divided it into batches.
Okay, so considering that you were talking and spending so much time in the field, how did you manage to remember all the information that you were collecting?
I guess even for people with like a good memory, it becomes important that whenever you are in the field, you come back and write down everything in your field diary. So many a times people are not comfortable letting you record what they are saying, because they have this consciousness amongst themselves that they might speak something which is wrong and it might go on the record. So even if you tell them that it is only for your own personal research, they might not want you to record it. So what happens is that you have to remember whatever the person has said. You can only make certain key points, in your notebook, like we do it in the classroom. So what I did was I would come back every day and write down everything in the form of a diary, which I called my field diary, and then keep that log. So afterwards, when I would sit down to write the chapter, or the concrete so-called report, at that time I would bring everything together and try to compile the information. So if three people have spoken something on gender which was on similar lines, so what I would do is I would put them in one section, because it meant that people thought alike. And research is also something where we are trying to look for patterns or non patterns. So in that way, if three people are saying the same thing, in that sense you make it into one section or so. So I would do that. So one of the ways that it's easier to remember things is always to keep note of them in a time bound manner, because all of us tend to forget things, right? So that is what I used to do.
Right, thank you. And you've already also explained very well as to what you did with the information as you were gathering it. So we've already understood that uh, while you were gathering information, you were also writing, and so in a way, analysis was happening almost at the same time. So can you tell us about the key findings or key things that you discovered from your research?
Sure, I can talk a little bit about mobile theater, but let me also show you some pictures for the same. So, like I said, that mobile theater is actually one of the most popular forms of entertainment in the state. There are around 60 or so theater groups that perform all over the state. Now, because they are constantly on the go, they start preparing April onwards, when the season officially begins, the theater season. So rehearsal starts from June, July, and the performances begin from August, September. Now in my photos collection, this first photo is actually that of a rehearsal space. So see how formal it is, and you also get a sort of rustic rural feeling, because most of these theaters are their headquarters are located in villages. So this is one of the rehearsal spaces where they perform, where they practice. And when they are ready, what happens is that they start putting up posters all over the state. This is one poster from Guwahati, announcing that they are going to be performing soon. So this is these such posters are seen all over the state. The third photo is actually from a play that was in progress. I clicked it. It's a little hazy. My camera quality wasn't that good. So this is the stage as you see, and two actors are performing. So this is from a play that was, staged by one of the theater groups. Then this photo, you see that in the end, when the play is over, members of the audience also get a chance to meet the actors. Some of them, of course, not everyone, maybe people who are seated in the front, and they can actually exchange pleasantries with the actors, which makes it very, very interactive for not only just the performers, but also for the audience. And this last photo, as you can see, that there is a poster of a theater group hung, and lots of activities are going on. You can also see children as well as people. They're having a good time, eating, drinking, So this is all about bringing together everything in a festive environment. So when Shweta asked me about the key findings, I thought I'll give a roundup of this so that it becomes clear that mobile theater is actually an integral part of Assam's cultural public sphere, because as you can see, it is very interwoven, interlinked with the society that it exists in. So if there is a festival that is being celebrated, like be it Diwali or Durga Puja, there is also a theater group that is performing. So entertainment is something which is part of that larger society itself. Now, some of these elements of mobile theater initially, in its initial years, were also, inspired by Jatra, which is believed that it came from Bengal to Assam as a theater form. So it also shows how, historical interconnectedness matters between geographical places. And it also shows how, histories then cannot be seen in isolation. Like, we cannot understand each one of us separately. We have to look at our histories in that cumulative way. So that was also one of the findings of this particular research that I had. And the other thing that I can mention is that you sort of connect with people when you are doing a research at this scale, and you realize the hold that theater can have not only over urban people, but also, the rural audience. Again, generally, we have understood theater as something which is an urban phenomenon, that city based people generally watch theater. But this particular study of mobile theater shows that it is not true. I mean, there were huge crowds in rural areas. There are still huge crowds to watch theater. And most of these actors and, artisans who are involved are actually from rural areas. So, in a way, it also becomes a source of employment and generates that feeling of community. So with COVID-19, all of this is missing, and that is a dent in the sphere, in the public sphere. And therefore, everybody is waiting so that, eagerly that theater goes up and running again once we are over with the health crisis. So yeah, those were some of my key findings.
Right. Also, this is not exactly a part of your research, but if I were to just ask for the benefit of audience, right now, the artists, the theater artists, if active theater is happening, obviously their livelihood would also get impacted. So, what would you suggest people, like, if they were to help the theater groups in some way, what would that kind of help be? What should they do?
I understand it is a difficult situation for most of us, especially for, again, performance based artists. I guess there are more, regulations needed even from the side of the state as well as non-state bodies to support these actors and artists, because the support has to come in large numbers. I mean, it is very difficult for individuals to sustain it. I'm also personally aware of the fact that many, groups in Assam are actually looking at how to sustain these theater groups. Some of them are also talking about going digital, in the sense that can they perform digitally and earn money. So these are some of the options that they are exploring. For us as the public, what I can say is that once they sort of um, go live with their performances again, we can be encouraging and actually pack up the auditoriums and the shows and wherever they are held, to support them. I guess that is what we can do, of course in a safe environment, because right now I don't think it is safe. So that is one of the biggest concerns that they are facing. uh, I hope that we as the public, we just support them in that way, because at the individual level I feel that is all we can do.
Right, but that's a great idea. To like, if any mobile theater is actually
Hmm.
going online and performing a show, it'll be great if people could explore and actually buy tickets for the shows, and somebody can do
Right.
digital integration and payments and everything to support this process. So that's an interesting idea if somebody wants to take it up.
Right, right. I
Right.
feel, there may be ways which, this happens in the future. The only thing is probably how do they come together to rehearse and all that. So, these are logistics that need to be figured out. And people come from like all corners of the, state to make a theater group. So, like, they'll have to discuss these logistics. And in case the pandemic actually does not get over in 2 years, or we don't have a vaccine, I guess we'll have to explore options.
Right.
Right.
So going back to your PhD, was there anything that you would say that was unexpected for you? Like you didn't expect it as a discovery or as a finding, but it did emerge.
Hmm. So, I won't say it's unexpected, but it was very surprising, because generally, researchers are seen as people who trouble you a lot with questions, and they want you to fill questionnaires and surveys. So, there is this stereotype that you don't get good answers because people get bored listening to you or answering your questions. But I was pleasantly surprised, because people, these theater artists, producers, they were so busy, but they still made time for me, and answered so many of my questions to the best extent that was possible. So it sort of also reaffirmed my belief in humanity and empathy in that sense. Of course there were times when interviews would get cancelled or postponed, but I really feel that the other person also took the initiative to get back and say that let's do it at this time. So when we hear so many stories of people actually not believing in each other or not showing up, even these small instances sort of make a huge difference in telling you that your research is worth it. There are people who are interested in contributing to it. So that was very surprising, but yeah, I mean, it was a good surprise in that sense.
Okay, and of course, research is never easy. So, were there any specific challenges that you faced that you could share with the audience?
Yes. So one of the challenge was this feeling that it is never ending. Every day you come up with some new information, or you get some new insight, and you don't know where to incorporate it and where to put it in. So that is a huge challenge that I guess every researcher faces. Same was with me. So at that point you actually just take a pause and realize that you're lucky that so many insights are coming to you, and you probably decide what to do with them later on. So when you get them, you keep them in mind. The other challenge is that sometimes when you're working with communities or people who are familiar to you, like this was with me, because I am from Assam and I've also watched theater as a child. I've grown up watching mobile theater. You don't know where to draw the line between what is in relevant to your research and what is not. It might seem that nothing is relevant, or it might also seem that everything is relevant. So that is also a line that one needs to draw, and that is a challenge that happens even at other project levels. It used to happen even in school, like you don't know what to write or what not to write in an answer or a project. So that line of what is important, that is also a bit of a challenge. uh, Dealing with people, how do you deal with people who may be rude to you, who may not want to answer your questions? At that point you can also feel very very low and question your own self esteem, as to maybe this is something that you did and that is why they're behaving like that. So that could be also a challenge, and how you deal with it. You sort of move on from that. take it in a positive way and say that, okay, they didn't have the time, it's all right. So you just move on from that. So in those ways, the challenges that you face while doing a research can also be life challenges, and so you adapt them in your life and sort of move on.
Right. So that's one of, I mean, of course, you've said many good points, but I think it's very important for any researcher to remember that when people say no to you, when they don't have time for you, it's nothing about you. It's about, what's happening in their lives. So it's very important to
Hmm.
not take it personally. And research is never easy. I mean, that's what I
Right.
would
Hmm.
continue to say. So thank you so much, Ritu, for sharing candidly about your research and keeping everything simple. And for audience, you've also shown photos, so that's like taking us to your field as well. So to the audience, I would like to say this series will continue. We'll come again with another conversation on another research, and we will try to keep it simple because the idea is to take research to everyone. So this is research for everyone. We hope you will continue to enjoy the series. If you've completed PhD yourself, please get in touch with us and come on board for a conversation like this. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ritu. Happy
Thank
Diwali.
you
Bye.
so much. Thank you.